You think you know big? Imagine an empire so enormous, it stretched further than anyone could ever see. The largest land empire in all of history. That was the legacy of one man, Genghis Khan. This fierce leader didn't just conquer lands, he changed the world forever. And here's where it gets truly fascinating. He had a surprisingly clever strategy that helped him build this unstoppable power. He allowed people from every conquered land to follow their own beliefs. Why would such a ruthless conqueror allow such freedom? The answer is a gripping tale of strategy, power, and secrets that shaped nations. Prepare to uncover the unbelievable story of Genghis Khan and the empire that dwarfed all others. Before we dive deeper into this epic saga, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on more incredible stories from history. What we're about to explore will challenge everything you thought you knew about one of the most powerful figures ever. It was the 12th century, a time long before the great Mongol Empire. The vast plains of East Asia were home to many different groups of people, like the Mongols and the Turkic nomads. These groups were led by chiefs called Khans, and they spent their lives herding sheep, cattle, yaks, and camels. They lived in special felt tents that could be moved easily, traveling between summer and winter camps. Life was tough, but women in these communities were very powerful. They managed the migrations, took care of many animals, and even handled trade. The men, on the other hand, were masters of fighting on horseback. These groups often fought amongst themselves, a cycle of battles that seemed endless. But all of that was about to change because of one man, Temujin. He was born into an important Mongol family, but tragedy struck early. He lost his father and grew up very poor. Despite these challenges, he quickly rose to power. How? He was incredibly smart about making alliances, teaming up with other leaders. Unlike the old Khans, Temujin changed the rules. He made his soldiers leaders because they were good at fighting, not because of who their parents were. And he shared everything they won equally, making everyone feel important. His most brilliant move was how he handled the people he conquered. Instead of keeping them all together, he mixed them up with his own soldiers. This stopped them from being able to group up and fight against him later. These new ways of doing things made him unstoppable. By the year 1206, he had brought all the people of the felt tents together, and they gave him a new, powerful name, Genghis Khan, which means Genghis Khan. The Mongols believed in many spirits of nature and their ancestors, a religion called shamanism. They believed there was a powerful sky god called Tengri. Genghis Khan truly believed that Tengri wanted him to conquer the entire world for him. With all the nomadic people of Mongolia now united under him, this dream seemed possible. If anyone resisted the Mongols, Genghis Khan believed they were resisting the will of Tengri, and for that, they had to die. Under Genghis Khan, the Mongols first took over northern China and then parts of the eastern Islamic lands. After he died in 1227, his special mission, or divine mandate, passed to his family, known as the Golden Lineage. His sons and grandsons continued his work. In the 1230s, they conquered Central Asia and the Russian princes. In 1241, they even crushed two powerful European armies. By the 1250s, the Mongols had captured Islamic lands all the way to Baghdad, and in the east, their power reached southern China by 1279. But life inside the Mongol Empire wasn't just about war and destruction. Once the Mongols conquered a place, they usually left its local leaders in charge of the day-to-day politics. They even allowed all different religions to exist, as long as the religious leaders prayed for the Mongols' success. They often captured skilled workers like artists, smart scholars, and engineers. But they didn't just kill them. They understood how valuable these specialists were. So they forced them to move across Asia to new places, where they could continue their important work, spreading knowledge and skills. One of the most valuable things made in the empire was gold brocade, a special fabric. It used silk from China, real gold from Tibet, and talented weavers from a place called Baghdad. This expensive gold brocade was used to make clothes for the Mongol rulers, cover their horses, and even line their fancy tents. The Mongols were also especially interested in getting gunpowder experts from China, knowing how powerful that technology could be. With such a huge part of the world united under one rule, trade became incredibly easy and safe along the famous Silk Road. This was helped by a fantastic system of horse messengers and relay stations that could quickly send messages and goods across the vast empire. Trade also grew strong at sea, especially for beautiful blue and white porcelain, which cleverly combined white pottery from Mongol China with blue dye that came from Mongol Iran. However, this golden age of unity and trade would not last forever. When it came time to choose the next great Khan, it wasn't always the oldest son who took over. Brothers, uncles, and cousins would often fight for power, with powerful widows sometimes acting as temporary rulers for their young sons. By the 1260s, Genghis Khan's grandsons were in a huge family war over who should inherit the empire. This fighting caused the giant realm to break apart into 4 separate empires. Even though the main Mongol Empire lasted only a short while, its impact was enormous. In China, Kublai Khan's Yuan dynasty became a time remembered for amazing advances in science and culture. In Iran, the Ilkhanate Empire led to beautiful new buildings and a new kind of art called Persian miniature painting. In Central Asia, the Chagatai Khanate gave rise to powerful leaders like Timur, whose family descendant, Babur, would go on to create the famous Mughal Empire in India. And in Eastern Europe, the Golden Horde ruled for many years, until a small trading town called Muscovy eventually grew into the major world power we know today as Russia. Genghis Khan's legacy is still debated. Was he a vicious barbarian who brought only destruction, or a unifier who paved the way for a more connected, modern world? His military campaigns undeniably led to the deaths of millions. Some say northern China lost 2/3 of its people, but supporters argue that the old Jin dynasty had been cruel to the northern tribes, and Genghis Khan was simply preventing them from suffering the same fate. They point out that he preferred enemies to surrender and pay tribute, and that massacres often happened when cities rebelled after surrendering, or when his ambassadors were killed. He had a very strict idea of justice and loyalty. Some historical accounts speak of extreme brutality by his armies, ripping unborn children from mothers, using prisoners as human shields, and taking all women from conquered towns. These are horrifying details. However, others argue that such acts, while terrible, were sadly not uncommon among armies in the medieval period. This makes Genghis Khan unexceptional for his time in terms of cruelty, rather than some uniquely bloodthirsty monster. In fact, after he united the tribes, he stopped the practice of bride kidnapping, and women in Mongol society often had more rights than women in many other cultures, controlling home affairs, being able to divorce, and serving as trusted advisors. Genghis Khan himself stayed with his first wife his entire life, even raising a son who might not have been his own as his heir. Despite the controversies, the survivors of his conquests often reaped the benefits of the empire he founded. The Mongols practiced religious tolerance, treated their soldiers well, promoted people based on their skill rather than their family name, set up an amazing postal system, and enforced clear laws across their lands. Their contributions to culture were also significant. While Baghdad, a great cultural capital, was tragically destroyed when its leader refused to surrender, it wasn't Mongol policy to wipe out culture. Usually they saved doctors, scholars, and artists from conquered places and moved them around their empire, helping knowledge spread across the world. Even though the empire only lasted a relatively short time, the stability it brought to vast regions allowed the Silk Road to truly flourish once more. This led to an incredible exchange of trade, ideas, and cultures between the East and the West. His legacy even helped shape warring regions like Russia and China into more unified states. To this day, Genghis Khan's descendants can be found among the powerful families all over Eurasia. It's truly mind-boggling to think that 16 million men today are descended from Genghis Khan. That's one in every 200 men on Earth. For every great conqueror, there are millions whose lives were forever changed. Whose stories do we remember? And can a leader's huge impact on history truly outweigh the lives lost along the way? These are the powerful questions that arise when we examine the story of Genghis Khan. What do you think? Was Genghis Khan a ruthless barbarian or a visionary leader who shaped the world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this journey through the Mongol Empire as fascinating as we did, give this video a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the most incredible stories history has to offer. Thanks for watching.